Oh my goodness, look at the state of it. It is so hot inside here. It's over 40 degrees. Today we're in my favourite place of the garden. Well, I suppose during the cold and wet season anyway, the greenhouse. Because it is finally time to plant out those amazing summer crops that are just perfect for greenhouse growing. Plus, everything inside here will be so well sheltered from the winds too. And I will be growing tomatoes, cucumbers, chilies and bell peppers in here. Are we all getting a bit even excited about these summer harvests, especially these heat-loving crops that really thrive in sunshine and dry weather? Because I know our family is, but we're not living in Spain, even though looking at today's weather, we might as well be, because it's really hot inside here. It's definitely close to 20 degrees Celsius outside there too. I don't know how it happened, because only yesterday we were still wearing jeans and jumpers. So there was another quick turnaround. But the weather is warming up. Gradually it will get warmer. So this is the best time to get these plants in here. I am seeing more and more of UK gardeners growing some of their heat-loving plants directly outside in the garden beds or even in the small hoop houses. And I'm quite envious of them for this, but I don't have a small hoop house, and to grow it outside I can't actually take any of this type of risk here, because we're just a bit too exposed to the Atlantic Ocean winds, and this is the main reason why we invested in this polycarbonate greenhouse anyway. Now, the greenhouse has been an absolute game changer when it comes to extending the seasons of growing your own fruit and vegetables. And this is also going to be the very first summer when the new layout that I did here, when? Last October, November, will be tested out. The proof will be in the pudding, as they say, to see if making the side beds narrower and adding this central bed, this central metal bed here, will make it easier to keep the late blight at bay, and will the shallowness of the beds be easier on my back? Will I be able to maintain the plants better? As these were all these type of little problems that started to creep up over the previous years. What do you think about this? What do you think about this? Or will watering the beds be harder now, or at least will I have to be doing it more often, because maybe the shallower beds will dry out easier? So all this will have to be tested out as well. But first of all, I need to tidy the shelvings, clear all this clutter, take out the table maybe not, we'll see how I go, because I will need all of this space anyway. But the tomatoes will be grown in the beds. The cucumbers will be in a sort of larger pots, and the bell peppers and chilies also in pots. So I really need all of this empty and clear. Plus I want to rewash some of the walls on the inside before I plant, because the slugs were constantly using an area here as a highway, and I want to break this habit. Oh my goodness, look at the state of it. It is so hot inside here. It's over 40 degrees. But at least all of the beds are empty, so everything I had growing in these beds is out except for one borage. I left the borage here because they are just fantastic for bumblebees, and I do want to just harvest more seed of it, and I want to add more borage to the garden. It's such a valuable plant. But I've sprayed out the tomato plants. Oh yeah, and obviously the walls are washed as well. So it's much cleaner inside here. But I have all the tomatoes laid out and I still have 7 plants left over. So that makes me feel a little bit guilty because it is 7 plants, you know. I had to make a decision there now what to leave, what to take, and especially because there's like something out of each of the varieties. Yeah, I don't find that part of the job easy. It doesn't look to me at all like I've taken any of leaves away. Well, okay, yeah, I suppose down here I can see more the stem now and more of the fruit themselves as well. But it was so congested again, and I've already reduced the plants against the amount what I did last year, and I'm thinking next year it has to be even less of them. But basically how I lay them out is that the central bed, the metal planter, gets as many cherry tomatoes as possible between the Sweet Million and Sun Gold, because at least here they can rump away a little bit quicker and easier. I can tie them up and they have the tallest space available for them. As then towards the slatted wall, because that will start getting more of that afternoon shade, I put no cherry tomatoes there, because the cherry tomatoes will make the place look quite jungly. It is going to become a full-on jungle inside here by the end of the season. So I just used a lot of the determinate Lucky Leprechaun Irish Heritage variety plants there. They're only going to grow about a metre, let's say 3 foot something high, and then I used Moneymaker there as well. So that should at least give both those plants enough of sunlight, and I had that combination there last year as well, and they did absolutely perfectly. As then on this side of the greenhouse, it's really a mix between the cherry varieties and then the standard like the San Marzanos, and what else I had, apricot, salix, and more, I think, Moneymaker as well. After I cleared out all the beds, I actually watered the soil as much as possible, and then I added a layer of composted horse manure onto it, probably about an inch, inch and a half. And I'm just hoping that this is going to provide obviously nutrients for the plants anyway, but it's going to act a bit more like a mulch as well, and it would help the soil actually hold on to water a little bit better. And what I'm going to do is, as I'm digging a hole, I'm going to water that hole. I'm going to fill it well up and let that settle. But then also the plants themselves, I'm going to definitely plant them deep. I already planted them deep once I transferred them into these pots, and I think I'll still go a little bit higher on them. But now I am going to be stringing them up later, as when they start to grow a little bit taller. I'm not adding the string to the bottom of the planting hole the way you might see some people do. I have a different system for it, but at the moment I don't need any strings here yet. Or I'm not using canes either, I'm usually using strings, but yeah, I have a slightly different technique for that. That's going to be done when they're bigger, when the plants are a bit bigger. I'm also adding the dwarf French beans to this planter here. Beans and tomatoes are great companion plants. And I've never been successful growing the French beans or the dwarf varieties, but this is a purple potted one outdoors, so I'm going to try them like this. So the tomatoes and the dwarf French beans are planted now. I also want to add tagetes and basil into the beds here, but the tagetes is still too small. I only potted it up maybe a week ago, so I let it settle in those little pots a little bit longer, and then I can plant them in here. The cucumber I can't plant yet because they'll be grown in those big 30-litre tubs, the same as, let's say, the main crop potatoes, but also the seedlings are just a little bit too small yet. But the chilies and peppers, for sure I can plant them up. And all of these have been in our kitchen so far, just sitting next to that south-facing window. And they are desperate to be moved on now. They are really struggling inside here. The sweet peppers, most of them actually have fruit on them. Obviously they had flowers on them earlier as well, but they also have fruit on them. So I had 3 varieties of bell peppers or sweet peppers, which were YOLO Wonder, so you only live once wonder, a California Wonder, and Corno di Toro. So for the chilies, I've chosen new pots for them, and they're small 3-litre ones, so I think they'll be enough. Last year I grew them in sort of 9-litre pots, and I think they'll be absolutely fine with these ones. I have little bases or saucers for them as well, so I'd be able to regulate the watering better on them. As for the sweet peppers, I'm going to use also new plastic pots, and these are 7.5-litre ones. Previous years I've also used 7 to 9-litre pots for them, and they've been absolutely fine. So I'm going to go ahead with both of these. So really just compost and some more of that horse manure mixed into these, and at least from now onwards they can stay in here. Those chilies and peppers were in desperate need of water. The root balls were actually really dry. So they're going to get a really well-deserved drink now, and obviously there's plenty of nutrition in that fresh compost for them. I didn't manage to take out the table from the greenhouse yet because actually I thought, look, I still have some seedlings that I need to pot up, and I just find that my lower back cramps up quite a lot if I sort of hunch over the table area here, so I'd prefer to sit down. And the plants are totally fine with being on the footpath area at the moment with their water saucers underneath as well, so I can keep an eye on the watering levels. And yeah, so the tagetes and basil still need to go into those beds. I think I'll stick probably a couple of sunflowers in here as well. I'll see how the growth goes, but that's where I have the tagetes, the sunflowers mixed in with the tomato plants, and it's all really vibrant and really sort of floral looking as well. I'm really happy as well that I bought the French dwarf beans here, because they are a good combination, legume families and then tomatoes together. Now, being able to harvest fresh homegrown produce from this space is going to be so enjoyable for our family. No chemicals, no food miles, just freshly picked from here. And have a look at that next video. That's from September 2022, so 2 years ago. But you'll see what this space has potential of producing. are providing. So you might just get as excited about this area as I am. Otherwise, thanks a million for joining me today, and until next time.